with that, I'll be preaching on persistence. And when I looked up persistence as a definition, the easiest way for me to explain it would be a continuous action towards something despite the difficulties you may face or the oppositions. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I found myself following the path that the Lord has for me can sometimes become difficult or even boring. Or sometimes I get distracted with what's going on around me, or perhaps what my friends are doing, and I may even fall into temptations. Some being as small as skipping a Sunday, or even bigger things. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, though, struggling with those. If you turn with me to Hebrews 12:1. There you will read, "Therefore, since we are surrounded with such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." You see, when Satan sees that we're on such a great track with the Lord, he tends to want to sneak in and ruin that path. Sometimes he may even enter lies into our minds telling us we're not good enough or we can't do that. I know that I felt that before, especially with even trying to figure out what I was going to preach on. I felt like, oh, I can't do that. I'm only 16. I can't go in front of the church and preach and touch a life. He may also line up sins that fall straight into our paths, causing us to want to fall into temptations. But what we really need to do at that time is look to the Lord and pray. And just leave everything to Him, because as long as we don't pick up those temptations, the Lord will take them away. Another thought that may enter our minds, causing us to want to quit, is we feel like we can't live up to God's potentials. We feel as if something isn't going as good as it should at that time, or at that place, we tend to think it won't ever turn out good. But if you turn to Galatians 6:9 with me, you'll read, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You see, the Lord has a time and place for everything that we do in our lives, whether it's getting that job or helping that person. God sometimes will put a person on our heart for us to help and bring to the Lord. But if we don't see change right away, we tend to start thinking, well, I wasn't the right person, or if change hasn't happened by now, it can't happen. But we really need to keep pushing through and praying to the Lord, because with Him, great things will happen. Perhaps it took longer for that person because while you were reaching out to help them, they began to reach out to help their family. See, with God, there's the harvest. You have now not only helped that one person, but you've also helped their family. You haven't just brought one to the Lord, but you've brought many. Also, sometimes God will be the one taking more time in what He has called us to do. And by Him doing that, He's testing us to see if we will be faithful to Him and not fall into other options, such as temptations. If you turn with me to Proverbs 3:5-6. There you will read, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understandings. Submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." So many times we try our own ways for something that the Lord has called us to do. We feel as if God's way just isn't working, so we take it up on our own hands to do it our own way. But by doing that, we're actually falling into temptations. See, now we have made our path even more confusing. We are no longer looking at one great path set before us, but many twisted paths all around us with temptations. We have now added time into reaching the end of what God has for us because we chose to stray. This is falling back on the harvest saying. Because we weren't patient with God's time, we aren't seeing His harvest. And another thing that we tend to start getting tired. Maybe it's because we've been doing something for so long, or we've just been doing so much for so long. But this is the time when we really need to push through and just say, I'll keep on. Trust me, God sees us when we're having a hard time with something that he's called us to do. And he sends people into our lives to help us. I know I've been sent with many people, such as Kenan and Sierra, who, when I'm having a difficult time, I can go to them and I can trust with them in the Lord to help me. Especially with this preaching, I had no idea what I was going to do. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to preach on. But with praying to the Lord, I have now known that this is what he wanted me to preach on. See, with the people that he sends to our lives, we can either choose to accept it or choose to push them away. Sometimes we feel like, oh no, I got this, and we want it to be something that we can say, I did that, that was all me. But in reality, it wasn't us at all. It was God. He's using us for help. We're not using him for help because we are his mouths down here on earth. Thank you.